Hello and welcome back. Before we begin, let me show you the result. This bowl is filled with handmade wooden eggs, each one slightly different, each one shaped by hand. And today I'm adding 2 more to the collection. This is a perfect project if you want to improve your control with the Skew Chisel. It looks simple, but it really isn't. Even after all this time, I'm still learning how to properly use this tool. And in this video, you'll actually see why. At one point, I ran into a small problem, and that's exactly where things get interesting. Because with the skew, one tiny mistake, and you get a catch. So this won't just be a smooth process, it's a real one. Today I'll be making 2 eggs. The first one from cherrywood, warm, clean and very predictable. And the second one from spalted beech, a completely different character with much more unpredictable grain. Before shaping, I quickly mark the proportions. The total length is 7 centimeters. I divided into 2 parts, a slightly longer top and a shorter bottom. Then I split the bottom once more. This gives me clear reference points and much better control over the final shape. Because without this, it's very easy to lose the curve. As I get closer to the final shape, this is where things can easily go wrong. With the Skew Chisel, the most important thing is to follow the bevel, not the tip of the tool. The moment you start cutting with the tip, you lose control. And that's exactly how a catch happens. And just like that, a small catch. Nothing serious, but a perfect reminder of how sensitive this tool really is. So I slow things down again and regain control. Now I continue shaping the lower part of the egg, refining the curve and bringing everything back into balance. This is where patience matters most. Small cuts, clean movements, no forcing the tool. I'm curious, do you enjoy working with the Skew Chisel or do you avoid it completely? Let me know in the comments. I move on to the top of the egg. I start carefully using just the tip of the Skew Chisel to create a bit of space. This small detail makes a big difference. It gives me room to position the tool correctly and avoid unnecessary pressure. Because once I rotate the skew, I can fully ride the bevel and shape the final curve in one smooth, controlled motion. This is where the tool really shows its potential. The cuts become cleaner, more fluid, and the surface starts to look almost finished already. I'm constantly watching the curve and how the light reflects across it. That reflection tells me if the shape is right or if something still feels off. Small adjustments, barely visible cuts, just refining the line. The Skew Chisel is an incredible tool if you know how to use it properly. It can leave such a clean surface that sanding wouldn't even be necessary. But in my case, I still take it a step further. At this stage, everything starts to come together. The shape is already there, but small details still make all the difference. At this point, the shape is complete. All that's left is refining the surface. I start sanding, gradually working up to 320 grit. Each step removes the smallest imperfections and brings out more depth in the wood. The surface becomes smoother, more even, almost soft to the touch. Once I'm satisfied with the finish, I carefully part the egg off using the skew chisel. A delicate cut, just enough to separate it cleanly from the blank. There's always a small mark left at the base, so I go back in and sand that area by hand, removing the last trace of the turning process. And just like that, the first egg is finished. Clean, balanced, and shaped exactly how I wanted. But this was the easy part, because next I'll be working with something completely different. Spalted beech, a much more unpredictable wood, full of contrast and unique patterns. It looks incredible, but it can also be tricky to work with. So the approach changes, and that's where things get even more interesting. Let's move on to the second piece. This one is spalted beech, and immediately you can see the difference. The surface already shows these dark lines, organic patterns, almost like a map hidden inside the wood. Spalted wood has a completely different character. It's not just about how it looks, it's about how it behaves. Some areas are still strong and dense, while others are softer, sometimes even slightly fragile. So from the very beginning, I know I need a different approach. More patience, lighter cuts, and full attention on every movement. I mount the blank on the lathe and slowly bring it up to speed. Even at this stage, you can feel that this wood reacts differently. The vibration, the sound, everything is slightly less predictable. So I take my time, no rushing, just controlled, intentional cuts. I begin by turning the blank into a cylinder. Just like before, this is the foundation, but here I'm constantly adjusting the pressure. Too much force and the softer areas could tear. Too little and the tool won't cut cleanly. So it becomes a balance between precision and sensitivity. Once I have a clean cylinder, I move on to marking the proportions, 7 centimeters in total. A slightly longer top and a shorter bottom. And just like with the first piece, I divide the lower section again. These lines might seem simple, but they give me orientation, especially with wood like this, where the visual patterns can be distracting. Now the shaping begins, and this is where spalted wood really starts to reveal itself. With every cut, new details appear. Lines become clearer, contrasts stronger, and the surface begins to tell its story. This is the part I enjoy the most, because you never fully know what the final piece will look like. You guide the shape, but the wood decides the final character. I start defining the lower part of the egg. Slow, controlled movements, always following the bevel, never forcing the tool. Here, precision is everything, because if the cut isn't clean, the softer areas can break or tear. So I keep the tool sharp and the pressure minimal, letting the tool do the work. As the curve starts to form, I keep checking the silhouette, watching how the light moves across the surface. That reflection tells me everything. If the curve is too flat, it feels lifeless. If it's too steep, it loses balance. So I refine it gradually, cut by cut, until it feels right. Now I move to the upper part of the egg. Just like before, I begin by creating a small relief with the tip of the skew. A subtle move, but an important one. It gives me space to position the tool correctly, because once I rotate the skew, I can ride the bevel cleanly and shape the final curve in one continuous motion. This time, everything flows smoothly. No catches, no interruptions, just clean, controlled cuts And this is where the Skew Chisel really shows its potential. When used correctly, it leaves a surface that already looks finished, almost polished straight from the tool. At this stage, the shape is complete, balanced, smooth, and full of character. But the surface can still be refined further. So I move on to sanding. I start sanding, gradually working up to 320 grit. And here something interesting happens. Sanding doesn't just smooth the surface, it enhances the contrast. The darker lines become deeper, the lighter areas more pronounced, and the entire piece gains a new level of depth. This is where spalted wood really comes alive. I take my time here, no skipping steps, no rushing, because the final surface depends on this stage, and the smoother it is, the more the grain will stand out. Once I'm satisfied, I carefully par the egg off from the blank. A slow, controlled cut until the piece separates cleanly. There's always a small mark left at the base, a reminder of where the piece was connected. So I go back in and sand that area by hand, removing the last imperfection. Now, all that's left is a final bit of sanding, just refining the surface and removing the last small marks. And with that, the second egg is complete. To finish the pieces, I apply mineral oil. It soaks into the wood, bringing out the depth of the grain and giving each egg a soft, natural sheen. The colors become richer, the contrast stronger, and the entire piece feels alive. And this is the final result. A collection of handmade wooden eggs, each one shaped by hand, each one completely unique. If you'd like something similar, or even a fully custom piece, you can order it directly through our website. You'll find the link displayed at the top of the video. And if you enjoyed this process, feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share the video with someone who appreciates handmade work. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.